Welcome Numismatics Hub. Imagine holding a coin in your hand. A simple, unassuming penny. Yet it's worth more than most people's car. Sounds unbelievable, right? Well, hold on to your seat because today we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating stories of numismatics. The 1982 USA 1-cent coin. This tiny piece of history holds a secret that will blow your mind. And by the end of this video, you'll see just how much it's really worth. But first, let's take a journey through time and uncover the story behind this extraordinary coin. It all starts in the early 1980s. The United States was in the midst of significant political, economic, and social changes. President Ronald Reagan had just taken office, the economy was navigating through inflationary pressures, and America was in the midst of the Cold War. The world around the U.S. was shifting, and so too was the world of coinage. The U.S. Mint, ever focused on efficiency and cost, was about to make a significant change to the humble 1-cent coin. This was a time when inflation was beginning to make the penny less and less useful, and the production of copper was becoming increasingly expensive. But the most interesting part of the story begins in 1982, when the Mint made an unexpected decision that would change the trajectory of American coinage forever. Before 1982, the 1-cent coin, or penny, was primarily made of 95% copper with just 5% zinc. It was a hefty little coin, with a pleasing weight and shine. But in response to rising copper prices, the U.S. Mint made the bold decision to change the composition of the penny. Starting in mid-1982, the penny's composition would be altered to 97.5% zinc, with only 2.5% copper. This change was meant to save money and to ensure the continued circulation of the penny as a useful denomination in the U.S. economy. But here's where things get interesting. While this shift was happening, not all the pennies in 1982 were made with the new composition. The U.S. Mint produced both copper pennies and the new zinc-based pennies during the same year, creating a rare scenario where two different types of pennies were being minted alongside each other. And this is where collectors and enthusiasts alike would begin to take notice. So, you may be wondering, what makes these pennies so special? What sets them apart from the other billions of pennies in circulation? Well, when the Mint made the switch, it didn't immediately announce it. That meant some pennies, minted in 1982, still retained the old copper composition. A penny minted at the beginning of the year could very well still be composed mostly of copper, while a penny made later in the year would be the newer, lighter zinc variety. This unexpected mix-up means there are two distinct types of pennies from the same year, the copper pennies and the zinc pennies. And here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. The copper 1982 pennies are incredibly rare, and in the right condition, they can be worth a fortune. The copper 1982 pennies are worth significantly more than their zinc counterparts, and collectors quickly realized that these pennies could be a valuable addition to their collections. But finding one of these copper pennies isn't as easy as you might think. They were only produced in limited quantities before the Mint made the switch, which means they are hard to come by, especially in good condition. Now, let's fast forward to the present day. These copper 1982 pennies have become some of the most sought-after coins by collectors. The reason for their high value is simple: rarity. Collectors know that the copper pennies are a rare glimpse into a time when U.S. coinage was transitioning, and they represent a moment of change in American history. In fact, the rarity of these coins, coupled with their historical significance, has made them a prized possession in the world of numismatics. But here's the real kicker. You're probably wondering just how much one of these coins is worth today. After all, it's just a penny, right? Well, believe it or not, one of these copper 1982 pennies, especially if it's in excellent condition, has sold for as much as $156,000 at auction. Yes, you heard that correctly. $156,000 for a single penny. Now, you might be thinking, how can a penny be worth that much? Let's break it down. The value of these copper pennies is determined by several factors: their rarity, condition, and the specific minting process they went through. A penny from 1982 that was struck before the Mint switched to zinc is extremely rare, and if it has been well preserved over the years, it becomes even more valuable. In fact, some of these copper 1982 pennies have been graded by professional numismatists as being in mint condition, which significantly boosts their value. And that brings us to the big question: how do you know if you have one of these valuable pennies in your pocket? First, you need to know how to distinguish the copper pennies from the zinc ones. There's a simple trick you can use. The easiest way to tell is by weighing the coin. The copper pennies from 1982 weigh about 3.11 grams, while the zinc pennies weigh only around 2.5 grams. If you have a 1982 penny and it weighs closer to the 3.11 gram mark, congratulations. You may have just found a rare, valuable coin. But the story doesn't end there. As more collectors became aware of the 1982 copper penny's potential value, the demand for these coins skyrocketed. In fact, some savvy collectors have even been known to scour through rolls of pennies at local banks, hoping to find a hidden gem in the form of one of these rare 1982 copper pennies. Others have meticulously checked their spare change, hoping to come across a penny that could be worth a small fortune. And that's why, in the world of numismatics, these 1982 copper pennies are considered something of a holy grail. The combination of their rarity, historical significance, and the sheer excitement of potentially discovering one has made them a topic of constant discussion among coin collectors and enthusiasts alike. If you're lucky enough to find one of these copper 1982 pennies in your possession, the first thing you should do is get it professionally graded. A coin's value can skyrocket when it's given a high grade by a professional numismatist, as this indicates its condition and authenticity. There are a number of reputable grading services out there, and they can help you determine the true worth of your penny. So, how can you tell if you found a hidden treasure? Well, the rarity of these coins means that they don't pop up every day. But with the right tools and knowledge, you might just be able to find one in your spare change. Keep an eye on your 1982 pennies, and you could be holding onto a coin worth thousands or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. To wrap things up, the 1982 copper penny is a true anomaly in the world of coinage. It's a tiny coin with a big story, a rare find with a huge payoff. The next time you're digging through your spare change, remember, you could be holding onto a coin worth more than its weight in gold, or in this case, copper. And just like that, we've come to the end of the story of the 1982 copper penny. If you've learned something new today and enjoyed this dive into the fascinating world of coins, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. You never know, your next penny could be the one that changes everything. Happy hunting! What if I told you that a single penny, one of the most common coins you could find in your pocket, could actually be worth a small fortune? It sounds impossible, right? After all, a penny is just a penny? Or is it? In today's video, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1964 USA 1-cent coin, a seemingly humble penny with a fascinating story and an impressive value that might just surprise you. Let's start by taking a step back in time. The year is 1964. The United States is on the brink of the most dramatic decade in its history, with the civil rights movement, the space race, and the rise of pop culture reshaping the nation. President Lyndon B. Johnson has just assumed office following the tragic assassination of President John F. Kennedy. The world is changing, and so is the American coinage system. In 1964, the U.S. Mint was churning out coins like never before. One of the most iconic and important coins in circulation at the time was the 1-cent coin, or the penny. By this time, the penny had undergone several design changes since its introduction in the late 19th century, but none as significant as the change that would take place in 1964. Prior to 1964, the 1-cent coin was made of a composition of 95% copper and 5% tin and zinc. This blend gave the coin its distinctive color and weight. But in the early 1960s, rising demand for copper for other uses, particularly in the war effort during World War II, led to the Mint reassessing its materials for coinage. By 1964, the price of copper was rising quickly, and the Mint was facing rising costs in production. Little did anyone know, this would soon lead to one of the most valuable pennies in U.S. history. But it wasn't just the rising cost of copper that would make 1964 pennies so significant. In that year, the U.S. Mint produced a large number of pennies that were made with a higher copper content than future issues. Specifically, 1964 pennies were composed of 95% copper, just like the earlier versions of the coin, making them a key piece of history. Little did collectors know, these pennies would later become an incredibly rare and valuable commodity. The 1964 penny, often referred to as the last of the copper pennies, marked the end of an era. It was the final year before the U.S. Mint made the switch to a different composition, with pennies produced in 1965 and beyond being primarily made of copper-plated zinc, a cost-saving measure designed to address rising metal prices. That change drastically altered the way pennies looked and felt, but it also made the 1964 copper pennies unique. As a result, the 1964 1-cent coin is now regarded as a historic piece of American numismatic heritage. Now, let's talk about the design of the 1964 penny. The design itself is unmistakably classic, yet deeply embedded in American history. The obverse, or front side, features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States. This design, created by artist Victor David Brenner, has been used for the penny since 1909 and remains one of the most recognizable images in U.S. coinage. On the reverse side of the coin, you'll find the words E pluribus unum, 1 cent, and the famous wheat stalks, which were used from 1909 until 1958. In 1959, the wheat design was replaced by the Lincoln Memorial, which is featured on the reverse of the 1964 penny. This stunning design by Frank Gasparo depicted the Lincoln Memorial, a national symbol of American unity and strength, and it became the hallmark of the penny for many years. The design, along with the higher copper content, makes the 1964 penny a standout among its peers. But the coin's true appeal goes far beyond its aesthetic beauty or historical importance. It's all about rarity and condition, and that's where things get even more interesting. By the 1960s, the U.S. Mint had already produced millions of pennies each year, but as the years passed, many of those pennies were lost, worn down, or hoarded. Because the 1964 penny was made of nearly pure copper, it was also subject to corrosion and wear over time. So while there are plenty of 1964 pennies out there, very few are in pristine condition. And that's what collectors are after: the few, rare specimens of the 1964 copper penny that have been well preserved over the decades. As with most collectible coins, the value of a 1964 penny is determined by several factors, including its rarity, condition, and the number of similar coins in circulation. Over the years, certain coins have gained fame for their rarity and exceptional condition, and the 1964 penny is no exception. The 1964 copper penny, in particular, is prized for its limited availability in good condition and the historical significance that it carries. Collectors and investors alike are always on the lookout for these elusive coins, knowing that they could be worth far more than their face value. Now, you're probably wondering just how much these coins are worth. A penny is still, after all, just a penny, right? Well, not exactly. In the world of numismatics, the value of a coin like the 1964 copper penny can soar to astronomical heights if it is rare enough and in excellent condition. The value of a 1964 penny varies depending on several factors, including its mint mark and condition. If you happen to find a 1964 penny in perfect, uncirculated condition, meaning it looks as if it's just been freshly minted, it can fetch anywhere from $10 to $50, sometimes even more, depending on the auction. However, the real prize comes with the rarer, higher-grade specimens, especially those that are certified by professional grading services. Coins in mint condition, those with few scratches, no discoloration, and a perfect shine, are worth far more, often selling for hundreds or even thousands of dollars at auction. But here's where the story really gets exciting. There are 1964 pennies out there that have sold for staggering sums. In recent years, some collectors have sold mint-condition 1964 copper pennies for as much as $185,000. Yes, you heard that right, $185,000 for a single penny. That might sound too good to be true, but the reality is that rare and well-preserved examples of these coins have become highly coveted by numismatists, investors, and even casual collectors who are hoping to strike it rich. When a 1964 copper penny is found in exceptional condition, it can become one of the most valuable pennies in the world, commanding prices that would make any coin enthusiast's jaw drop. So how can you tell if your 1964 penny is one of these hidden treasures? The first step is to check the condition of the coin. If you have a 1964 penny that looks nearly new, without visible scratches or significant wear, there's a good chance it could be worth more than face value. The second thing to look for is whether the coin has been professionally graded. Grading services, such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, provide expert evaluations of a coin's condition, which can significantly increase its value. Coins that are graded higher by these services, especially those in gem-quality condition, can sell for much more than a regular 1964 penny. While most people will never come across a penny worth $185,000, it's still thrilling to think about the possibility. The 1964 penny is one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in U.S. history, and its appeal only continues to grow as collectors, investors, and enthusiasts continue to search for that perfect, rare specimen. So, if you have a jar full of old pennies in your home or a collection gathering dust in a drawer, take a moment to check those 1964 pennies. You might just have a hidden treasure waiting to be discovered. And who knows? Maybe, just maybe, you'll be the one holding a penny worth $185,000. 000. Thank you for joining me on this exciting journey through the story of the 1964 USA 1-cent coin. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into numismatics, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more fascinating stories from the world of coin collecting. You never know what hidden treasures are out there waiting to be uncovered. Happy collecting! You're walking down the street and you see a penny lying on the ground. You pick it up, glance at it, and it seems ordinary. It's just another penny, right? Well, what if I told you that this penny could actually be worth a fortune, potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars? Sound unbelievable? Let's dive into the intriguing story of the 1975 USA 1-cent coin, a seemingly simple penny that holds a fascinating tale of history, rarity, and hidden value. By the end of this video, you'll learn just how this penny could be worth up to $170,000, and how you might just be holding on to one of the most sought-after coins in American history. To understand the 1975 1-cent coin's significance, we need to first look at the context in which it was minted. The 1970s were a time of great change in the United States. The country was dealing with the aftermath of the Vietnam War, a tough economy plagued by inflation, and a growing distrust in government following the Watergate scandal. The 1970s were also a time when coinage in the U.S. was in a state of transition. The American Mint was working on keeping costs down while ensuring that the nation's currency remained functional and symbolic. The 1-cent coin, better known as the penny, had already been around for more than a century by the 1970s, but like the country itself, it was evolving. The design of the penny, as well as its composition, was undergoing changes to keep up with the needs of a growing economy. You see, the 1975 penny didn't just come about as part of a regular minting cycle. It represented a shift in the broader narrative of U.S. coinage. To understand the real story, let's first talk about what makes the 1975 penny stand out from the others. For many years, the U.S. 1-cent coin was composed primarily of copper. In fact, pennies minted from 1909 until 1982 were composed of 95% copper, with a small percentage of zinc. These copper pennies had a significant weight and a distinctive color that made them stand out among other coins. However, by the mid-1970s, the price of copper was rising sharply, and the cost of producing coins was beginning to eat into the government's budget. So, the U.S. Mint faced a difficult decision. How could they continue producing pennies without breaking the bank? In 1975, the Mint decided to make a significant change to the composition of the penny. While the coin's appearance remained relatively unchanged, the composition was altered to include a mix of copper and zinc, with copper still making up the majority of the composition. This change allowed the Mint to save on production costs while still producing a coin that maintained the same familiar look and feel. The most significant change in the 1975 penny, however, came from the design itself. Although the reverse of the penny had been redesigned in 1959 to feature the Lincoln Memorial, the 1975 penny had an unusual characteristic that made it a rare find among its peers. The U.S. Mint, by 1975, was preparing for the upcoming 200th anniversary of the U.S. Mint in 1976. As a part of this preparation, they produced certain test designs and variations that would not make it into regular circulation. These test pieces would later become part of a select group of rare and valuable coins. Now, let's fast forward to the fascinating part of the 1975 penny's story, the rarity and value. While most pennies from 1975 are common and not worth much more than their face value, there is a specific subset of 1975 pennies that were produced with an experimental error, and these coins have become highly sought after by collectors. These pennies are often referred to as the 1975 double-die pennies, and they are among the most exciting finds in the world of numismatics. In the case of the 1975 double-die penny, the error occurs during the minting process, when the die is struck multiple times in slightly misaligned positions, causing a doubling effect on the coin's design. This results in a noticeable shift in the lettering and details, giving the coin a double appearance. The 1975 double-die penny is incredibly rare because the mistake wasn't discovered until after the coins had already been distributed into circulation, making it a hidden treasure for those sharp-eyed enough to spot it. But what makes these 1975 double-die pennies so valuable? It all comes down to rarity. When a coin is minted in error, and that error is not immediately corrected, it creates a situation where only a few examples of that coin are in circulation. Over the years, many of these error coins have been lost, damaged, or discarded, leaving only a handful of them in pristine condition. As a result, these 1975 double-die pennies have become highly desirable to collectors, driving up their value. The value of a 1975 double-die penny varies depending on its condition, but in top-notch, uncirculated condition, these pennies can sell for astronomical prices. Some of the best examples have been known to fetch upwards of $170,000 at auction. Yes, you heard that right. A penny worth 1 cent when it was minted can be worth more than a small house today, all because of its rarity and the fascinating error that occurred during its production. So, how can you tell if you have one of these valuable 1975 double-die pennies? The key is to carefully examine the coin for signs of doubling. Look closely at the inscriptions on the obverse of the coin, particularly the words, Liberty, and In God We Trust, as well as the date, 1975. If you notice any doubling, especially on the letters or the numbers, you may have found one of these highly valuable error coins. A magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe can be incredibly helpful in spotting these subtle but significant differences. In addition to the 1975 double-die penny, there are also a few other variants of the 1975 penny that have piqued the interest of collectors, particularly those who specialize in error coins. Some coins from 1975 were struck with slightly off-center designs, while others feature unusual die breaks or cracks. These unique features can also add value to the coin, especially if they are in good condition and have been well preserved. But the excitement doesn't end there. The 1975 penny is part of a broader phenomenon in the world of numismatics. As collectors and investors flock to acquire rare and valuable coins, the market for certain error coins has skyrocketed. In fact, the allure of rare coins like the 1975 double-die penny is not just about the monetary value. It's about the thrill of discovery and the chance to hold a piece of history in your hands. Now, let's take a moment to explore the broader appeal of coin collecting and why coins like the 1975 penny hold such a special place in the hearts of collectors. Coin collecting, or numismatics, has been a beloved hobby for centuries. Collectors are drawn to coins not only because of their value but because they offer a tangible connection to the past. Every coin tells a story, and for many collectors, the 1975 double-die penny represents a fascinating chapter in American coinage. It's a rare mistake, a glimpse into the inner workings of the U.S. Mint, that has captured the imaginations of collectors, historians, and treasure hunters alike. Coin collecting has also become a smart investment strategy for many. Rare coins, especially those with historical significance or error variations, can appreciate in value over time, sometimes reaching astronomical prices. Investors often turn to coins like the 1975 double-die penny because they are both tangible assets and pieces of history, making them an ideal investment for those looking to diversify their portfolios. As for the 1975 penny, its value isn't just about its error or rarity. It's about its connection to the history of the United States. The 1970s were a pivotal time in American history, and coins minted during this period serve as a snapshot of the challenges and changes that shaped the nation. The 1975 penny, in all its simplicity, represents a moment in time when the U.S. Mint faced the delicate balance of preserving tradition while adapting to modern challenges. So, what should you do if you think you might have a 1975 double-die penny on your hands? First and foremost, you should carefully inspect the coin for any signs of doubling or other unusual features. If you spot something, it's time to get the coin professionally graded. Professional grading services, such as the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, or the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, will assess the condition of the coin and assign it a grade, which will significantly impact its value. A high-grade 1975 double-die penny could be worth tens of thousands of dollars. So it's worth the investment to have it professionally evaluated. In conclusion, the 1975 USA 1-cent coin is far from just another penny. It's a rare and valuable treasure that tells a unique story of American coinage, history, and the fascinating world of numismatics. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just someone with a passing interest in coins, the 1975 penny holds a special place in the world of rare coins, and its potential value, up to $170,000, shows just how much hidden treasure could be right under your nose. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of the 1975 USA 1-cent coin. If you've enjoyed learning about this remarkable coin and its potential value, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. You never know when you might stumble upon a piece of history worth a small fortune. Happy hunting! You're digging through a jar of old coins, looking for something interesting, and you come across a 1995 D penny. At first glance, it might just seem like another modern coin, right? But what if I told you that this seemingly ordinary penny could actually be worth a small fortune? Up to $129,000 to be exact. It might sound unbelievable, But that's exactly the case with the 1995 D USA 1-cent coin, a penny that has a rare and valuable story that might just surprise you. In today's video, we're going to explore the fascinating history behind this coin, why it's so valuable, and how you might just be sitting on a treasure without even knowing it. Buckle up, because by the end of this journey, you'll be searching through your own coin collection, hoping to uncover that one-in-a-million find. Let's start by setting the stage. It's 1995. The world is in the midst of a rapidly changing decade. With the internet becoming more accessible, the grunge music movement taking over the airwaves, and the political landscape shifting in the aftermath of the Cold War. The United States is in a relatively stable period of peace. But there's one thing that is also changing: coinage. The U.S. Mint, which is responsible for producing the nation's coins, has long been at the center of innovation when it comes to currency. By the 1990s, the Mint had already seen numerous changes to coin designs, and 1995 would be no different. While there were no major overhauls in the design of the 1-cent coin that year, 1995 would mark a critical moment in the history of the penny, thanks to a particular and rare error that would go unnoticed by most, but not all. The 1995 D penny, like other pennies of the time, was struck with the iconic Abraham Lincoln design, which had been in use on the obverse front of the penny since 1909. Designed by Victor David Brenner, this portrait of Lincoln is instantly recognizable to anyone familiar with U.S. currency. On the reverse back of the 1995 penny, you'll find the Lincoln Memorial, another enduring symbol of American history. This design, created by Frank Gasparo, had been in circulation since 1959 and would remain the standard reverse design until 2009, when it was replaced with a series of designs honoring the 200th anniversary of Lincoln's birth. But while the 1995 penny itself may look like many others, it's not just the design that makes this coin important. The real story begins with a small, but significant, error that occurred during the minting process, an error that would change the value of this particular penny forever. This error, commonly known as the 1995 double die penny, is the key to the coin's exceptional value. But what exactly is a double die? Simply put, a double die is a minting error that occurs when the design on a coin is struck multiple times by the die, the metal stamp that imprints the image onto the coin. Normally, the die strikes the coin once, and the design is transferred clearly. But when the die shifts slightly or is struck multiple times in slightly different positions, it causes the design to appear doubled, creating a ghostly or blurry effect on the letters and numbers in the case of the 1995 D penny. The double die error is most visible on the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," as well as the date 1995 on the obverse. This is the key indicator that sets the 1995 D double die penny apart from all the others, and it's what makes it such a coveted find among collectors. So, how does this error happen? The cause of the error typically lies in a mistake at the U.S. Mint, where the die becomes misaligned during the minting process. In the case of the 1995 D penny, the die was struck multiple times, which caused the doubled appearance. However, not all of the 1995 D pennies were struck with this error, only a small fraction of them. Most of the 1995 D pennies were struck correctly, but the small batch of misstruck coins would soon become one of the most valuable and rare finds in the world of numismatics. For most people, a 1995 penny is just that, a penny worth a single cent. But for numismatists and collectors, this particular penny is a treasure. The rarity of the 1995 double die penny, combined with the fact that it was produced during a time when the mint was making high volumes of coins, makes it even more special. And while many people will never find one of these rare coins, those who do are in for a surprise. Now, let's get to the part that everyone's been waiting for. How much is a 1995 D double die penny worth? The answer might just blow your mind. While most 1995 D pennies are worth just 1 cent, a well-preserved 1995 double die penny can fetch between $100 and $200 if it's in average condition. But here's where it gets really exciting. Coins that are in mint condition, especially those with a strong doubling effect and minimal wear, have been known to sell for much higher prices than in fact. Some of the most pristine examples of the 1995 D double die penny have sold for as much as $129,000 at auction. Yes, you heard that right. $129,000 for a penny. This incredible value comes from the coin's rarity and the fact that it represents one of the most fascinating errors in U.S. coinage history. Coins like these are highly sought after by collectors, and their prices reflect the level of demand and the excitement that surrounds such a rare find. But how do you know if you've found one of these valuable pennies in your own collection? The first thing to do is carefully examine the coin for signs of doubling. Look closely at the lettering and numbers on the obverse, particularly the words liberty and in God we trust, as well as the date. If you see a doubling effect, you may have stumbled upon a 1995 D double die penny. The doubled appearance will look like a faint second image of the letters or numbers, creating a sort of shadow or blur. It can be subtle, so a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe can help you get a better look. If you suspect that you have a valuable 1995 D penny, it's a good idea to have the coin professionally graded. Professional coin grading services, such as the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, can evaluate the condition of the coin and assign it a grade, which plays a key role in determining its value. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. A well-preserved 1995 D double die penny in top-grade condition can easily command six figures, making it one of the most valuable coins of the 1990s. Now, let's take a step back and talk about why coins like the 1995 D double die penny are so appealing to collectors and investors alike. Coin collecting, or numismatics, is a hobby that has been enjoyed for centuries. Collectors are drawn to coins for many reasons. They're not only pieces of history, but they also represent a tangible connection to the past. For collectors, finding a rare and valuable coin is like uncovering a hidden treasure, an exciting moment of discovery that brings the hobby to life. In the case of the 1995 D double die penny, the appeal is even greater because of the mystery and rarity behind the coin. Collectors love a good story, and the error behind this particular penny makes it all the more intriguing. The idea that something as simple as a penny could hold such value is what draws people into the world of coin collecting. Additionally, coins like the 1995 D penny are seen by many as a good investment. Rare coins, especially those with historical significance and minting errors, can appreciate in value over time. Investors often seek out these coins as a way to diversify their portfolios, knowing that they may one day be worth far more than their initial purchase price. In fact, many of the most valuable coins in the world today were once considered simple, everyday pieces of currency. The 1995 D double die penny may have started life as just another penny in your pocket, but it's now a valuable treasure that's capturing the attention of collectors around the world. If you happen to find one, or if you already have one in your collection, you could be holding on to a rare piece of U.S. coinage history, worth far more than you ever expected. So, next time you find a penny on the ground or in your change jar, take a moment to look a little closer. You never know, you might be holding on to a coin worth thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. Thanks for joining me on this journey into the world of rare coins. If you've enjoyed this video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting stories from the world of numismatics. Happy hunting! You're going through your coin jar, minding your own business, when you stumble upon an old penny. You hold it in your hand, and the first thought that crosses your mind is, just another penny. But what if I told you that this penny, this very coin, could actually be worth a small fortune, up to $150,000? Yes, you heard me right. A simple 1981-cent coin, something most people wouldn't think twice about, could be sitting on a treasure worth far more than its face value. Intrigued? Keep watching, because by the end of this video, you'll know everything there is to know about the 1980 USA 1-cent coin, its fascinating history, its valuable mistakes, and how you might just be holding one of the most sought-after pennies in the world. Let's begin by stepping back in time to 1980. It was a year of significant cultural shifts and world events. The US was in the midst of the Cold War, the economy was dealing with the aftermath of the energy crisis, and the 1980s were just beginning to reveal their bold new fashion trends, including the rise of big hair, neon colors, and the early days of pop culture icons like Michael Jackson and Madonna. While the world was changing, something else was quietly taking place in the US Mint, the production of everyday currency, including the 1-cent coin, or penny. By 1980, the design of the penny had remained largely unchanged for over 70 years. The penny's obverse, front, design, featuring Abraham Lincoln, had been in place since 1909, designed by the talented Victor David Brenner. This iconic image of Lincoln would remain on the penny until today. The reverse, back, of the coin, however, had been updated in 1959 to feature the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo, to commemorate Lincoln's centennial. The penny, in all its simplicity, was both a reflection of American history and a crucial part of daily life. But behind the scenes, the U.S. Mint was facing significant challenges. You see, by 1980, the cost of producing the penny was becoming more expensive than the coin itself. The 1-cent coin was still composed primarily of copper, with 95% copper and 5% zinc, making it heavier and more costly to produce than ever before. With inflation on the rise and the economy facing serious hurdles, the U.S. Mint began looking for ways to save on the cost of production without sacrificing the value or integrity of the coin. However, it wasn't just the cost of copper that was an issue. As with many periods of history, the 1980s were a time of experimentation and change, and this included the minting process. By the end of the 1970s and into the early 80s, the mint was adjusting to a growing population and a higher demand for coins. Coin designs and minting techniques were evolving, which would set the stage for some mistakes and valuable ones at that. The 1980 penny is often seen as a standard, regular-issue coin in the long history of U.S. currency. Yet, there's more to the story when it comes to certain variations and errors that emerged from the minting process in that year. A small batch of these pennies has garnered the attention of coin collectors, and here's why. The 1980 penny is notable for an interesting error that resulted in a highly valuable coin, one that is now a holy grail for numismatists. The mistake in question is what's known as a double die error. Now, what exactly does that mean? A double die error happens when the coin dies. The stamps used to imprint the design onto the coin are improperly aligned or struck multiple times. This leads to a doubling effect on the coin's design, most notably visible on the lettering and numbers. For the 1980 penny, the doubling was particularly apparent in the year 1980 on the obverse of the coin. The numbers in the date appear to be doubled or blurry, creating a ghostly effect on the coin. And these errors are exactly what collectors look for. What makes the 1980 double die penny so special is its rarity. It's estimated that only a small number of these double die error pennies made it into circulation before the minting process was corrected. The doubling effect on the date of the coin can be subtle, but once you know what to look for, it becomes clear. The 1980 date appears shifted, with extra lines or shadowing that creates the doubled effect. If you hold the penny up to the light and inspect it closely, particularly around the numbers of the year, you might notice a distinct separation or doubling of the digits. This seemingly small detail has turned these coins into coveted treasures. But here's the kicker. What happens when you find one of these rare coins? You could be sitting on something worth far more than its face value. In fact, some of the highest graded 1980 double die pennies have sold for an astonishing $150,000 at auction. That's right. A penny worth just 1 cent in 1980 could now be worth a small fortune. One that might change your life forever. So, why exactly does the 1980 double die penny command such a high price? The answer lies in the combination of rarity, demand, and the excitement of discovery. When a coin like this is minted with an error, it becomes incredibly sought after. In the case of the 1980 double die penny, only a handful of these coins remain in excellent condition, and collectors are always on the lookout for these unique finds. When a coin is graded well by a professional grading service like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, its value skyrockets. A coin in pristine condition, showing minimal signs of wear or corrosion, can fetch hundreds of thousands of dollars, simply because it represents a rare moment in minting history. But how do you spot a 1980 double die penny? The key is to examine the coin closely for the telltale signs of doubling. Start by looking at the year 1980 on the obverse. If the numbers appear to have a doubled effect, with the lines of the digits looking offset or blurry, you may have found one of these valuable error coins. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to inspect the coin in greater detail. The doubling is often most visible in the 8 and 0, with the second set of digits appearing faintly behind the original ones. It can be easy to miss if you're not careful, but if you spot it, you might just have an incredible find on your hands. If you believe you found a 1980 double die penny, the next step is to get it professionally graded. Professional graders will evaluate the condition of the coin and assign it a grade, which will directly influence its market value. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. Coins with a grade of MS65 or higher, meaning they're in near-perfect condition, will be worth much more than coins with lower grades. In fact, a coin with a high-grade designation could fetch the top dollar at auction, reaching values upwards of $150,000. But let's not forget about the wider appeal of collecting coins. Numismatics, or coin collecting, has long been a popular hobby for people of all ages. There's something thrilling about finding a rare coin, knowing it represents a unique piece of history. For many collectors, the excitement isn't just about the potential for financial gain. It's about owning a tangible part of history, a piece of currency that has survived the test of time. Coins like the 1980 double die penny are more than just collectible objects. They're artifacts that connect us to our past, representing the ongoing story of the United States and its economy. Coin collecting has also evolved into a lucrative investment opportunity. As with any investment, the value of rare coins can fluctuate over time, but in general, rare coins, especially those with errors or unique features, tend to appreciate in value as the years go by. If you have a keen eye for spotting rare coins, or if you've inherited a collection of coins that include some older pennies, you might just find yourself holding on to something that could be worth a lot more than you ever imagined. The 1980 USA 1-cent coin is a prime example of how something as simple as a penny can hold great value in the world of coin collecting. From its historical context as a standard coin in 1980 to its sudden rise in value thanks to a minting error, the 1980 double-die penny is a reminder that treasures can often be hidden in plain sight. If you find yourself with one of these rare coins in your possession, don't dismiss it as just another penny. You might be holding on to a valuable artifact worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. So, next time you reach into your coin jar or roll of pennies, take a moment to look more closely. You never know when you might find a hidden gem, one that could be worth far more than you ever thought possible. Thanks for watching, and remember, the world of rare coins is full of surprises. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more exciting discoveries from the world of numismatics. Happy hunting! The world was a very different place back then. The Cold War was intensifying, the United States was in the midst of the space race, and the country was slowly emerging from the 1950s into a new era of social change and technological advancement. But while the world was changing, one thing remained constant. The U.S. Mint was still busy producing the coins that the country relied on for everyday transactions. Among these coins was the humble 1-cent piece, which had been in circulation since the late 1800s. The 1961 penny, however, would become the focus of a story that would make it one of the most sought-after coins for collectors. Now, you may be wondering, what's so special about the 1961 penny? At first glance, it might seem like just another coin from a bygone era. After all, the penny, also known as the 1-cent coin, has had a consistent design for decades. But beneath its surface, the 1961 penny holds a secret that would spark the interest of numismatists and collectors alike. The answer lies in an important detail that has to do with a specific error that occurred during the minting process. A mistake that only a small number of 1961 pennies share. This error would go unnoticed by most at the time, but today, it is the key to unlocking the coin's extraordinary value. The 1961 penny was part of the regular production cycle of 1-cent coins, which had been issued annually in massive quantities by the U.S. Mint to keep up with the demands of a growing population. The coin featured the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln, which had been in use since 1909. Designed by Victor David Brenner, Lincoln's image graced the obverse or front of the coin. On the reverse, we saw the iconic wheat ears design, which had been used on the penny from 1909 until 1958. In 1959, the reverse design was changed to feature the Lincoln Memorial, a new design created by Frank Gasparo, which would remain in place for the penny's design until 2009. The penny of 1961 was still made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, a composition that had been used for many years. This was a period of stability for the penny, a time when there were no major changes to the coin's design or metal composition. The minting process itself was refined and efficient, producing hundreds of millions of pennies each year to satisfy the demand for small change. But while most of the 1961 pennies were produced without issue, a rare error would soon surface, making this particular coin valuable to collectors. This error, known as the 1961 small date penny, is what sets this coin apart from others. The difference between the regular 1961 penny and the rare small date variety is subtle, but to the trained eye, it is unmistakable. The small date refers to the size of the digits in the year 1961 on the obverse of the coin. The Mint, in its usual efficiency, had two different dies for striking the pennies in 1961. One die had the regular-sized digits, and the other had smaller digits. The smaller digits were intended for use on certain other coins, but through a mix-up, they were used on a limited number of 1961 pennies. This slight mistake would go unnoticed at the time, but today, it has become a key feature of the coin's value. So, how does this small date variety come into play in terms of value? Well, because the error was relatively rare, only a small portion of the 1961 pennies were struck with the smaller digits. Most of the 1961 pennies were made with the standard-sized digits, so finding a small date coin today is a rare and exciting discovery for collectors. As we dive deeper into why the 1961 small date penny is so coveted, it's important to understand the principles of rarity and demand in the world of coin collecting. Coin collectors, or numismatists, are always on the lookout for coins that are rare, unique, or have some sort of historical significance. And the 1961 small date penny checks all of those boxes. It's rare because only a small number of these coins were produced, it's unique because of its minting error, and it's historically significant because it represents a fascinating moment in the US Mint's production history. For collectors, discovering a rare coin like the 1961 small date penny is a thrilling experience. It's like finding a hidden treasure, a moment of serendipity where an ordinary coin becomes extraordinary. This is why the value of these coins has skyrocketed in recent years. When a coin like this is found in good condition, it becomes a prized possession among collectors and investors alike. Now, let's get to the most exciting part. How much is a 1961 small date penny worth? While the answer depends on the coin's condition and its grade, some of the highest graded examples of this rare penny have been known to sell for as much as $195,000 at auction. Yes, that's right. A single penny that was once worth just 1 cent can now fetch nearly $200,000. It's a staggering amount, but it's a testament to the rarity and demand for this particular coin. Coins in excellent condition, or those that have been professionally graded by services like the Professional Coin Grading Service, PCGS, or the Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, NGC, can command prices that are far beyond what most people would ever imagine. The highest quality 1961 small date pennies, those with minimal wear, clear doubling, and perfect surfaces, are the ones that fetch top dollar at auctions. The rarity of these coins, combined with the historical intrigue and the error behind them, has made them incredibly valuable. For collectors looking to add a 1961 small date penny to their collection, it's important to know how to identify one. First, you'll need to examine the year 1961 on the obverse of the coin. The most obvious difference between the regular large date and the small date is the size of the digits. The small date has a noticeably smaller and more compact set of numbers compared to the large date variety. The numbers will appear close together, and the ones in the year will be thinner and shorter. It's a subtle difference, but one that experienced collectors can easily spot. If you think you've found a 1961 small date penny, the next step is to have it professionally graded. The grade of a coin plays a crucial role in determining its value. Coins with high grades, such as MS 65 or MS 66, will command significantly higher prices than those with lower grades. The condition of the coin, the clarity of the date, and the overall appearance of the coin will all factor into its final grade and, subsequently, its market value. The appeal of coins like the 1961 small date penny goes beyond just their monetary value. For many collectors, it's the thrill of the hunt, the excitement of finding something rare and significant. Coin collecting has been a beloved hobby for centuries, and there's something magical about owning a piece of history that tells a story that could have easily been lost to time. With coins like the 1961 small date penny, collectors can connect with the past in a very tangible way. Now, you may be wondering, why do these errors happen in the first place? Why are certain coins made with mistakes that can lead to them being worth so much money? The answer lies in the intricacies of the minting process. The US Mint strikes millions of coins each day, and while the process is incredibly precise, mistakes do happen from time to time. Sometimes, dies become misaligned or are struck with the wrong equipment, leading to errors like the small date variety we're talking about today. These errors are usually caught quickly, but by then, a few coins have already made it into circulation, and these rare coins are the ones that collectors seek. As with any investment, it's important to remember that the value of coins can fluctuate over time. The market for rare coins is driven by supply and demand, and the value of a particular coin can rise or fall based on factors like popularity, availability, and collector interest. However, for those who have the foresight to invest in rare coins like the 1961 small date penny, the potential for significant returns is undeniable. To wrap things up, the 1961 small date penny is a prime example of how a small error in the minting process can lead to a coin becoming a valuable treasure. What might seem like an ordinary penny at first glance can hold incredible value for those who know what to look for. Whether you're a seasoned numismatist or a casual collector, finding one of these rare coins is an exciting and rewarding experience. And with some examples of the 1961 small date penny selling for up to $195,000, it's clear that this penny is anything but ordinary. So, next time you're going through your spare change, take a moment to look at that penny. It might just be worth more than you think. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more fascinating stories from the world of coin collecting. Happy hunting!